All right, so my name is Nick Schemper,
And I'm Theo Keesee.
and this is our 2021 Fort Bissell internship presentation. So a little bit about myself. I just graduated from Phillipsburg High School, and I am planning on attending the University of Kansas to major in history, so fitting major for my internship.
I am going to be a senior this year in high school, and this is my second year with Nex-Gen, and also my second year interning at the Fort. So
This would have been my third year with the Nex-Gen program, but my first year at Fort Bissell.
We had a kind of a special event at the beginning of the year. We had the Phillipsburg High School Orange Bowl Band reunion from 1970. We held that event at the Fort, so that was kind of, other than school tours, that was kind of my first thing. I helped all day with that. But really, it was just really great because a lot of it was just talking with past members, and they recounted all their stories of going to Miami and performing in that. So it was just really cool to get to see all of that. And then I also played in the band. They had a band there, and they played some of the marching songs that they played actually at the Orange Bowl. So it was really neat, and they had a lot of funny stories to tell. So that was like we had a lot of people show up. I think Ruby and I did the tallying. It was like 100 or around there. So it was a really good turnout.
So one of our big jobs was just kind of general maintenance, maintaining the fort. Me and Theo, you can see there in that first picture, Theo did a really good job of staying on top of keeping the flowers watered and taking care of all the plants. And we'd also go through and pull out a bunch of that, what's it called, creep vine? Is that what it's called?
It's called vineweed.
Vineweed. Yeah, that stuff's nasty. I don't like it. Anyways, so I was in charge of mowing. I usually had to do that about once a week, and it's all with a push mower. And if you've seen Fort Bissell, it's not a small yard, so it would usually take me, 4.5, probably 5 hours to get it all in one go, but I usually cut it into a couple mornings. But really our big project was the wood there on the deck in front of the fort. It had never been treated before, so me and Theo had the task of going through and varnishing it and staining it and getting it all treated. So that probably took us about 3 work days over the course of a couple weeks, but we had a lot of fun doing that, listening to music and debating politics while doing it. So, because we're nerds, that's what we like to do on our free time.
And then another big part of a museum is you do a lot of cataloging and inventory with your artifacts. So every year we get new stuff that comes in, and we have a very detailed list that we have to that Ruby makes up, and then we go and we get all the things. We have like these sheets of paper, and we have to basically we review the condition of all the items that we get in. We write down who they're from, and their contact information, and then we put it in Past Perfect, which is a software program that a lot of museums use, and that's how a lot of them keep inventory. But yeah, those pictures that you see, they're all from that. And then that one in the middle, Dr. Mary's bed, we had the privilege of getting to haul that thing from the Phillips County Health Department all the way to the fort, and we had no idea what the bed looked like. So Ruby was just like, "You two can probably handle it," and we were like, "Oh yeah." No, but we get there and we see this, and it's like a medical table, because they just said bed, but it's like, we're like, what are we going to do? So she sent 2 people, came back with 6 or 5, something like that. So it took some work, but yeah, we got it in there.
So another one of our big projects was research. Whenever we would get artifacts in, sometimes we would have to go through and kind of research stuff about those artifacts, whether that be on the internet or with the sources we had at the fort. We also spent a lot of our summer putting together a guide for Fort Bissell. So that's where we're going to go through, and we kind of talk a little bit about each of the buildings and some of the stuff inside of there. So that took a lot of work, but we had a lot of fun doing that. Well, we had fun writing essays. Anyways, you can see here in that That first picture, that's Theo working on our project. That second picture, at the beginning of the summer, we had somebody bring in a mammoth tooth that was brought. They found it west of town. So I was able to go through and kind of do some research about it, figure out, what kind of mammoth it came from, how old it would have been, and so then we were able to add that to our exhibit. And Theo there in that last picture, this took him a really long time. That book has a list of every single person who's ever enlisted in the military from Phillips County. So he went through, deciphered all of their weird cursive handwriting, figuring out who they were, and put them all into our system. So that took him a really long time, but he got it done.
And then obviously tours are a very big part of a museum. We definitely had a lot more foot traffic this year with the pandemic kind of winding down a little bit. In fact, I think we had an almost record year, if I'm not mistaken. So we had a really good turnout. We had some really busy days. This picture that is right here, that's of the Kensington Kates. They're a women's group from over in Kensington, and they came down one day, and we split, I think, like half and half, and took them to different parts of the museum. So that was really good to have them come in. And then a new thing I got to experience this year was school tours. Nick got to also experience that too. I wasn't able to do that last year with my internship because of the pandemic, but we had some elementary school groups, 2nd through 4th grade, different schools come in, and it was just really fun to get to show them some of the stuff in the fort, and they were very excited, so it's always great, you feed off of that too. And then in terms of like regular tours, we had, like I said, foot traffic really picked up. It was a busy year. A lot of people just drive by it, see it's a museum, take time to come in, and I think almost all the time they are pretty impressed, and you never know who you're going to end up with. Like, you have some good ones, and then you have Florida Man, but
Florida Man.
it's for another time.
So another thing we did was every 2 weeks on Friday, we would do something called Fun Friday, and that's where in the morning we would have an event at the fort that kids could come and hang out and do different activities, and we had 3 of them. The first one we did was we had a scavenger hunt, and we prepared enough things for about 50 people, going through each little individual baggie, sealing it up, hiding it, and we had about 8 show up to it. So a lot of work, but now we have a bunch of extra scavenger hunt stuff that anytime anybody brings their kids in, they can do that. The second one we did was around the 4th of July, and we had Ruby put together some French vanilla cupcakes, and kids were able to come in and decorate them. We had frosting and sprinkles, and it was a really good time, and a little messy, but it was a lot of fun. And then our last one we did was, it was a Native Americans arts and crafts kind of deal. So we had people come in and they could make rain sticks out of the Pringle cans, or they could have little papers that they could fold and cut into teepees. And it was a lot of fun. Both of those last 2, we had upwards of 20 people come and show up. So that was a lot of fun, and it was really cool to kind of get to interact with the kids. So in conclusion, working at the fort was a lot of fun. It was a nice mixture of inside and outside work, and it really just kind of puts into perspective. You never know who's going to walk through that door. Everybody's got a story, and I guess in that way, history applies to all of us. So that was something that we both kind of took away from this summer.
Real quickly, we would like to thank Nex-Gen for the doing this internship. It's really a cool thing to see such a organization in a really small rural area. So it's really nice to have the opportunity. And then of course, the Fort Bissell and the Phillips County Historical Society. You really learn a new appreciation, I'd say, for your different people, like a museum curator, Ruby. I don't know how she's done it single for so many years. It's a lot more work than you would actually think. And then, of course, Connie, there too. She also, she is probably half of the stuff that I know that I give tours with. I know from her. So it's really great to work under the two pretty amazing people. But yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up.
Wraps her up.
Thank you.